Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to discuss the line-by-line meaning and do a detailed analysis of the poem Mending Wall by Robert Frost. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. Robert Frost is a famous American poet. He lived between 1874 to 1963 and he is known for his rural and regional themes. His poetry often reflects on the complexities of human life and the choices that individuals often have to make. The Mending Wall was published in 1914 and it was one of the first poems in Robert Frost's second poetry collection called North of Boston. The poem explores the theme of boundaries, both physical and metaphorical, as it delves into the relationship between two neighbors who annually come together or meet to repair a stone wall that separates their properties. Now let us discuss the line-by-line meaning of the poem. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun. Boulders means big, stones or big rocks, and makes gap even two can pass abreast. So in the opening stanza, the speaker introduces the idea that there is something that is there that does not like the presence of a wall between two households. Like there are two houses and to separate them there is a wall, but the poet is saying, or the speaker is saying, that there's something that does not like this wall being there and it constantly leads the wall to crumble and break. The speaker says that this force is a mysterious force, or it could be a natural part that hates the presence of a wall over there, so much so that it creates a large gap which is big enough for two people to walk through side by side. So this sets the stage for the questioning of the necessity of a wall. Does it at all need to be there or not? Next it says, the work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. Yelping means screaming and shouting. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time we find them there. So here the speaker explains that perhaps it could be the hunters who are responsible for causing damage to the wall when they are hunting animals. Because of that energy that is there in them to run behind the animals, they tend to be absent-minded and they break the wall. So the hunters, because they are so immersed in their game of hunting, scatter the stones here and there, which requires the speaker to make repairs during spring. But he's saying that this is just his prediction, that perhaps it is the hunters who have come and damaged the wall. The gaps which are there are unseen and unheard during their creation. That is, when these gaps are made in the walls or when this wall is breaking down, it has never been observed or noticed by anyone that it is as if someone who's breaking them or doing it intentionally. But every year when they return at springtime to mend or to repair the wall, they find the wall to be broken. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each. And some are loaves and some so nearly balls, we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. So here the speaker, when he knows that he has to come to mend or repair this wall, he informs his neighbor also that he'll be coming on such and such day when they are supposed to come together. Together they are going to walk along the property line to rebuild this wall. Now, despite collaborative effort, that is both putting effort, there is a sense of separation emphasized by the phrase, we keep the wall between us. The process of repairing the wall involves each neighbor dealing with the fallen stones on their respective sides. They have to pick it up and put it in place, and it requires that it is as if they have to cast a kind of a magical spell or something to make the stones stay where they are, to make it look like a wall, so that the stones can be well balanced and the wall can be repaired. The playful mention of how they have to cast a spell also shows how, when they are repairing the wall, it is a shared effort, because it wears off, or the fingers of both the neighbors get affected when they are repairing the wall. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game, one on a side. It comes a little more there, where it is we do not need the wall. He is all pine and I am apple orchid. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines. I tell him. He only says good fences make good neighbors. So in this particular stanza, the speaker reflects on the activity of repairing the wall as a kind of an outdoor game. He is, making the process of repairing the wall very, very trivial, very, very petty. He's saying it is as if we are playing a game. He then asserts that the wall is completely unnecessary, it is not required, pointing out the difference between the two neighbors. There is one neighborhood which is surrounded by pine trees, and the other side has apple orchards or apple gardens. The speaker humorously mentions his concern that his apple trees someday might cross over and eat the cones of the pine tree. That is why perhaps the other neighbor is so keen on making the wall and repairing the wall, because he fears that the apple orchards or the apple trees might walk across to the pine trees, and then the neighbor asserts a traditional belief which is mentioned here, that good fences make good neighbors. That is, it is sometimes necessary to have boundaries. Next he says, spring is the mischief in me. Mischief means to be naughty, and I wonder if I could put a notion or a belief, an idea in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. So here the speaker considers a kind of a thought, a kind of a naughty idea that is coming to his mind during spring, and he is thinking about challenging the belief of his neighbor about the idea of building walls. The neighbor is very keen, very much interested in making the wall, but this other speaker wants to question the neighbor that why are you so keen on making the wall. The speaker questions what is the logic behind the proverb good fences make good neighbors, because he wonders that these kind of divisions, physical ones, are necessary when there are cows or any animals, so that to prevent the animals for going into the neighborhood, you might feel the need of building a wall to separate the two neighborhoods. The speaker expresses the need for a deeper understanding of the purpose of this wall, and is there any offense that he is causing, because he's saying that neither my neighbor nor me, we do not own any animals also. Then what is it that is offending my neighbor that he is always so keen on building the wall? That is the intention, the logic that he wants to know from his neighbor. Then he goes on to say, something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it himself. I see him there, bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top, in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. So here the speaker once again repeats the idea that there is something that opposes or stops the wanting of building this wall, the existence of a wall, and desires the wall to be removed. The speaker playfully suggests that perhaps it could be the elves, but he says that even elves don't exist, so why would elves want the wall to not be there? The desire to have the neighbor recognize the force for himself highlights the speaker's reluctance. He says that I don't have any keen intention on this wall being built, but because my neighbor asserts a wall to be there, that is why I come here every year. The image of a neighbor carrying stones resembles a person from an old stone age, a savage person who is armed with primitive tools, and he is very keen on building the wall. So he is making a reference to the old stone age people, and it is physically old stone age people that he's referring to. And also the fact that the idea of building a wall is an old school thought, that you should have boundaries. He feels that his neighbor should change with the changing times and realize that instead of setting boundaries, it is also necessary in today's scenario to live peacefully and to coexist in a beautiful manner instead of having a wall between and separating it. Finally, it says, he moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not of woods only and the shade of trees. He will not go behind his father's saying. And he likes, having thought of it so well, he says again, good fences make good neighbors. So the final part of the poem portrays the neighbor moving in darkness, not only literal shade of trees, but also in a metaphorical sense, because of this old school idea that he has. The neighbor is someone who is still following the tradition. He refuses to question a saying of his father. He repeats rather the phrase good fences make good neighbors, emphasizing his commitment to the idea. He's saying that no matter what happens, my father, when he was there, he insisted on the wall being there. I am also going to follow that tradition, and I am going to build the wall there no matter what. So naturally the speaker also has to follow him, because he has not been able to change this traditional thought process, traditional logic of his neighbor. The poem deals with the concept of making boundaries, which could be both physical and metaphorical, and it raises questions about the necessity of building walls to separate individuals or properties. It explores what could be the consequences or the result of such kind of barriers on the relationships, and emphasizes that natural forces also tend to resist these divisions. Even nature does not want this kind of a wall to be there. Nature wants people to coexist peacefully, but it is human beings who make boundaries. Traditions. The tension between the speaker who questions the traditional wisdom of good fences make good neighbors and the neighbor who follows this tradition highlights the broader theme of tradition versus change. The speaker wants to bring about change. He wants to break free from the traditional notions, traditional thought processes. However, the neighbor is keen on following it. So the poem invites the readers to reflect on the value of whether long-standing beliefs and traditions are important or not, and the potential need for re-evaluation in the face of evolving perspectives. And once again, nature's resistance, that is nature's, nature does not want human beings to build walls, because the poem suggests how even nature is against the presence of walls. The something in nature that does not love a wall implies a force which constantly challenges the human need to create divisions. This theme raises questions about how human beings create artificial boundaries, and they try to disrupt or disturb the natural order of things, which also hints at the futility of trying to control things which are actually elements of nature. Nature wants everything to be open, free for all, but it is human beings who create boundaries and who set limits for themselves and others. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.